Greetings, Deep Dive Podcast listeners. This is your boy, Sam Orum, coming at you with another episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. How's everybody doing tonight? Hopefully everybody's having a great week thus far. Your week has been great and everything is going well. I appreciate everybody logging in to this particular episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. We're going to get into some things that hopefully will help you with your life and your future. But before we do that, I certainly want to welcome and thank all of you who are joining us tonight. Those of you who have been our loyal listeners for the past 3 seasons, thank you so much for your support. It means the world to me, really. It really does. A lot of times, people take things for granted, but I don't take for granted your generosity of your time. So thank you so very much for always supporting. Those of you who are new tonight to the Deep Dive Podcast, welcome. It's so exciting when you get new people every week and new thoughts and new visions and new energy. I welcome that. And because we are a global podcast, to be able to converse with people all over the world, that really means a lot. And so as our podcast continue to grow, as we continue to welcome new people, I thank you so much for joining us for this particular episode. Guys, we have a good topic tonight that I wanted to share because I think it's a continuation of what we've been talking about over the past couple of weeks. We talked about overcoming stagnation and just how to move forward, so to speak. So tonight I wanted to talk a little bit more about that, but more of a bit of an aggressive tone in terms of just letting it go. The topic of the episode tonight is to let it go. Now, for a lot of people, I know that's easier said than done, myself included. But in order to have that high quality of life, because the only thing that matters is, life forward, life backwards really is done, right? So when you start to think about it, when I talk about letting it go, we have to let things go mentally. We have to let things go physically. We have to just kind of change the tone of our lives if we want to change the tone of our lives moving forward. All that means is sometimes you just have to, relinquish some type of attachment that you may have, no matter what it may be, physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever it may be that may be holding you back. Sometimes you just have to relinquish, worry or preoccupation with something or a particular thought or a preoccupation with a particular feeling or situation. All of these things, think about it. If you combine all of these things into one, that's a heavy weight, a heavy burden you have to carry if you got all of these things that you need to relinquish, worry and preoccupation and thoughts or feelings or different situations. That's a lot. That's a lot to carry. So letting it go pretty much involves consciously just deciding not to dwell on something. You know what I mean? Just not to dwell on it because it might cause you that type of stress or anxiety or, negative emotions, whatever it may be. So what does that mean in terms of letting it go? I think this is something too that's real important. I want you guys to really, 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 really get this. It's it comes from a spiritual perspective, but if you understand it intellectually, right, it may help you in letting certain things go. And one of those things is just emotional wounds, letting emotional wounds go, whether that's through past relationships, whether that's through past tragedies, whatever it may be. You have to be in a position or put yourself in a position to let emotional wounds heal. If you don't heal emotional wounds, now check this out. This is important. If you don't heal emotional wounds, then you're going to bleed on people that had nothing to do with it. Let me say that again. If you don't heal emotional wounds, then you're going to bleed on people who had nothing to do with it. Now, that's not literally bleeding on people. I'm sure you know that. But what I mean and what I'm referring to is this. If you don't heal certain emotional wounds, then you're going to take things out on people that had nothing to do with it. let's look at this scenario. I saw a movie recently where the husband and wife were, they were getting into spats or whatever you call it. And, and then the father was just taking this out on the kids. Well, the kids didn't have anything to do with it. That disagreement was between you and your wife. Why are you taking it out on the kids? That's what it means when if you don't heal these emotional wounds, then you're going to bleed on the people that's around you. You're going to affect the people that's around you in a lot of cases in a negative way. Sometimes, even when you don't do anything or don't say anything, you kind of like internalize everything. That still affects people who are around you because these people love you. And when you go in this shell, you don't talk to anybody about it. You don't say anything. You may think that you're doing the best thing for those people, but in a lot of cases, you're not, because people that love you, they feel that hurt, whether you say anything or not. Now, don't get it twisted. Don't think that I'm like getting on your case, because I'm one of the biggest, contributors to this thought myself. I internalize everything. Only I can count on one hand the number of people that I just share, without hesitation with. But a lot of times that's not good. I still have emotional wounds that need to heal, so it's not that I'm just talking to you like, I'm living the perfect life. No, I have these same type of challenges and situations, but you just have to understand how you can affect people's lives around you. One, if you don't share what's going on, how many people would have not committed suicide if they had just shared what was going on with them with somebody around them? People love you and care for you, but you'll internalize certain things, and then before you know it, that dam within you bursts and it's too late. Well, me included, but everybody, you got to start opening up to somebody. You at least need that one person or that two people that you can just, no matter what, you can open up to, so that dam won't burst, and it gives you the ability to just let it go, release. Living in mourning a lot of times. And when I'm talking about mourning, whether it's mourning a death or mourning a relationship, but living in mourning, that's going to keep doors from opening for you, because you're wallowing in that pity. You're wallowing, and I shouldn't say pity, you're wallowing in that mourning. Once again, I'm definitely a culprit of this. My mom passed like 7 years ago. I still ain't over it. I still think I'm in mourning. I still think I'm in mourning. The hard part about dealing with somebody like me, and so I'm this podcast is for me too. But the hard part about dealing with somebody like me is I'm so hard-headed and stubborn. It's like, just leave me alone. Let me deal with it the way I deal with it. It's been 7 years. I'm still dealing with it. Just leave me alone. Let me deal with it. That's not the right approach. That's not a good thing. But I'm being honest with you, right? But living in mourning, that's going to just keep doors from opening. If I could have another conversation with my mom, I would know, she would tell me, fool, what's wrong with you? Stop, just stop. You just wasted your time and wasted your life, right? So I get it, but I have a responsibility to at least share with you openly, not just from my perspective, but just from the perspective of, medically or intellectually or whatever it may be. You have to let it go. God even said disappointment will come. He didn't say disappointment may come. He didn't say disappointment might come. We'll see if it'll come. God said disappointment will come. So we should expect those things. We should expect that those disappointments come. The challenge is for us, how do we handle those disappointments? One thing you have to kind of do is, in a lot of cases, is just release control. We try to control so many things, especially things that's not designed for us to control. It's designed for God to control them. But we try to do God's job, right? It's not for us to control. You can't control everything. Once again, I'm guilty. And a lot of times I try to control everything in my life because I want everything perfect as I can absolutely get it. And I feel like the best person that's going to do the best job for what I need is me. So I try to control everything, right? Well, you can't do that. You can't control everything. And you got to acknowledge that you can't control everything. You got to accept that some things are just beyond your control. They're beyond your influence. They're beyond your ability to change. Some things you just don't have the ability to change. Like you don't have the ability to heal someone. Well, most people don't. I've heard of people who may have the ability, but I've never met anybody that have the ability to heal someone, right? So you got to be able to release control in some cases. I was telling someone, I can't remember who it was in a group of people, but um, coming out of COVID, so many changes was happening with life, with people's mindset, ideologies, thought processes, and business. And I was trying to reshuffle my business, and it got to a point where I'm like, man, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And then I, made a decision just to say, God, just lead me. Just lead me. I may not understand it. I may not get it right now, but just lead me because I don't know what else to do. And ever since I made that proclamation and asked God to lead me, things have been on an upward trajectory ever since, even still to this day. And so now what I'm doing is just everything that I'm doing, I'm being led. Sometimes you may think you got that aha moment, that great idea, that great thought. Well, no, it is something that is being poured into by your creator because you're praying to be led. You're praying to be helped. You're praying to be guided, and you're releasing control. And that's what I had to do in order to move forward. You have to stop the over and over and over patterns of focusing in on past mistakes, focusing in on past regrets, or even worrying about the future. What's going to happen with this? What's going to happen with that? A lot of times we really, just kind of drive ourselves into the ground with these over and over and over patterns of thoughts, negativity, or past mistakes, or past regrets, or what's going to happen about tomorrow. All of these things, letting it go mentally, in terms of just letting that go, mean just stop these repetitive, unproductive thought patterns. You got to be able to do that. You have to stop these unproductive, repetitive thought patterns because they will destroy you. It's the trick of the devil. They will destroy you if you keep, first of all, definitely you can't harp on the past because it is the past. Why is this? Why did this happen? Why did that happen? It doesn't matter why it happened. It happened, right? Spend most of your energy on moving forward. Now, that's not to say that you don't want to learn from those past mistakes, but you don't want to dwell in negative and repetitive behavior over and over and over again. Because if you do, you're going to manifest that same thing in your life again. So you want to make sure you don't get into that whole repetitive, unproductive thought patterns, right? You want to also, in a lot of cases, sometimes you just have to emotionally detach yourself from a certain situation or even a person. I don't know. Again, I sometimes I watch movies when I'm just trying to unwind. I'll watch something to just kind of, because my mind is always going. I need something to distract my mind. And I think I saw a movie recently where, again, this couple, they were just going through their challenges, and one of the lady, I think it was, didn't live up to the expectations of the man or whatever it may be. But what started to happen is he just started to suppress emotions. He started to just kind of go into a shell. It just kind of drove him crazy. Long story short, it drove him crazy. And it just, the movie was all about him just going mad. Well, the answer to that situation is to create what's called an emotional detachment from those challenges. In this case, that burdensome relationship. Now, is that saying you detaching yourself from your relationship, your marriage? No. It's not the person. It is the emotion of that situation that you have to detach yourself from. In other words, you can't get consumed by a certain situation. I think I'm consumed by success. I think that everything that I do is just focused on just not just average success, but massive success. And sometimes I have to become emotionally detached from a particular part of that simply because it may be out of my control. It may be certain things that I just cannot control, and I'm stressing and worrying about it. Let's just say, for example, you're a a shoe salesman. You got a shoe store, right? You don't make the shoes. You have to depend on Nike or whoever your shoe supplier is. Well, that's something that's out of your control. You start stressing about the things that you can't control, you're going to drive yourself crazy. So you want to be able to reduce that stress. You don't want to get too consumed by all of the things that you can't control. Reducing stress, that's a way to alleviate anxiety. And you do that by choosing not to dwell on things that are causing these negative emotions. People can exude negative energy. I believe that wholeheartedly. I can tell you this as a fact. I can shake someone's hand and tell whether or not that person is a winner or a loser. And the reason I'm able to do that is simply because people are going to give you a certain type of energy. And I've been developed in a way that I can read energy. And either people are going to give you energy or they're going to drain you. And I can tell the difference just by shaking your hand. Certainly, I can tell the difference by a conversation. I can certainly tell about it. Take about 30 seconds before I can tell what kind of mindset you have just based on your conversation. Some people will always extract negative out of something positive. That's just the way they are. You see them coming, they're a ball of negativity. You can feel it. You be like, oh Lord, here he comes. Oh Lord, here she comes, right? Well, you just have to be in a situation where you kind of reduce your stress so you can let these negative emotions and negative feelings go, because that exuded through your energy. And when people feel, even if they don't understand it to the degree that I may understand or someone else may understand, even if they don't understand it, they certainly feel it. Have you ever been around a person and for whatever reason, just you just don't like that person? They've never done anything to you bad, or, you just don't like that person. Well, two things are going on here. One is a personality conflict. You may have two different kinds of personalities that just don't mesh. But the other thing, and is more importantly, is sometimes people just exude negative energy. And if you're a positive type person, you just can't live in that environment where people are always talking about something negative or all this other kind of stuff, right? So you just got to be in a situation where you don't let that stuff harbor, and reduce your stress, reduce your anxiety, let these things go that are causing these negative emotions. And a good way to do that is to just focus on the present. Focus on the present. Letting go mentally often involves just shifting your focus to what's going on right now, the present moment, rather than dwelling on all the past stuff, past events, past things, past worry, or worrying about future outcomes. Check this out. Now, this is important too, because I'm telling you not to worry and focus about the past, because there's nothing you can do about the past, right? So you should focus on the present and how to create the future. But check this out. This is deep. Even in focusing on the future and creating the future, you still can't worry about the future outcomes. All you can worry about is the work. You just got to do the work. You can't worry about the outcomes. That's deep, because that's also a form of needing to let it go. You can't worry about, even in focusing in on the future, even in creating the future, if you start to worry about the outcome, then now you put yourself right back in that situation of wallowing in negativity, because you're worrying about the outcome. And in a lot of cases, you just can't control it. The only thing you can control is what you can control, and that is to do the work. Do the work and let the outcome speak for itself. That's powerful. If you don't get anything else, you want to make sure you get that, right? So you want to make sure you just focus on the future. True. Create your future. True. But don't focus to the point that you're worrying about the outcomes. Don't worry about the outcomes. Just do the work. Okay. Just do the work. And when you look at all of these things, and then you start to say, well, you remember I talked about this last week, I think it was, or a week before. Well, why am I feeling like I just can't move? I'm just, stagnated. I'm sitting right here in the same place and nothing is happening. Well, for a lot of people, you have to kind of forgive yourself for whatever challenges or transgressions or past actions that may have taken place, and you need to forgive yourself for it. Just forgiving yourself or forgiving other people, for past actions, for past transgressions, releasing any grudges or resentment. Just kind of forgive yourself and forgive other people. Let that stuff go. Again, I'm talking to myself on this too, because I'm one of those cats. It's difficult to forgive. As they say in New Orleans, if you do me something, no, Louisiana, I should say, in Louisiana, if you do me something, it's hard for me to forgive, but I know it's required, because forgiveness, believe it or not, is for, you're not forgiving the person. You're releasing it it's for you. It's for your benefit. You're releasing it for yourself. So you want to be able to just kind of forgive yourself, forgive other people. You forgiving the other person so that you can move on. It could be a transgression. It could be, some kind of grudge you're holding, something somebody did many years ago. Let that stuff go. Let it go. It'll free you up to have a better life for yourself. And in the process of that, and in the process of, forgiveness and forgiving yourself, then you have to be mindful. Practices like mindfulness. This is a form of forgiveness. But mindfulness, meditation, can help you develop a skill of letting it go. And that just means you're just kind of like, mentally, you're training your mind to just observe or see or feel your thoughts and emotions without judgment, and then letting it go. So let me say that again so you understand. That whole part of that forgiveness is a part of mindfulness, where you practice mindfulness, whether it's through just meditation or resting or just bringing it down sometime. That can help you develop the skill of just letting go mentally of certain things. Because what you're doing, you're training your mind, you're training your thoughts just to observe just thoughts and emotions without judgment, and then letting that stuff go. That's a good practice, guys. So when you practice that forgiveness, you practice the mindfulness through, again, meditation, or some people may not meditate, but you may just take some time to just think some things through. Everything that I do or say, I think it through. I don't make haphazard decisions, because I've historically made mistakes when I just made, off the cuff decisions. So I think everything through. That's mindfulness, right? And you think stuff through without judgment, without prejudice. A lot of times when I'm trying to make a decision, or I have to make a decision, and I really just honestly can't make that decision, I've done this time and time again, but I would take a pad and pen and I would just write down the pros and cons of that situation. What are the pros? That's the positives. What are the cons? That's the negatives. And I look at the pros and cons, and whichever one wins, that's the decision that I make. If the pros win, I move forward. If the cons win, and it's like it's just not the right time, well, I don't move forward. That's a part of mindfulness. You're training your mind to just develop and observe things without judgment, right? Letting things go, freeing up your mind to be able to do other things successfully. And a part of that, again, is just being able to think positively. So many people, man, it's just, and I said this earlier, they just focus on negativity. They just always pull something negative out of something positive. It doesn't matter what it is. It's the opposite for me. It's like, you can tell me, no matter how bad something is, I'm going to look for the positive in this situation. I will look for the positive. It may have been something that you may have wanted or desired, and it just didn't happen. It came tumbling down, and You may be just all distraught about it. I may look at it from a standpoint, you know what, you just weren't ready for that. God is protecting you by not allowing you to do that or not allowing you to go here. You may have a kid that want to go on a trip or something, whatever, and it didn't manifest itself. Well, I look at it from a standpoint of, if you weren't able to go, there is a reason you weren't able to go. And you should thank God for that reason, because it may have been something that happened that would have been adverse to your situation. So, I try to bring the positive out of everything. Now, it doesn't always work. I'm still a work in progress. I'm better though. I'm better. I don't cuss as much no more. Every now and then a word will slip out, but I'm working on that. Right. I've certainly, and this is the truth, I've certainly turned the corner in terms of allowing other people to affect how I feel. It's kind of like, and I don't say this in a mean or negative way, but I don't care how people feel anymore. You know what I mean? I don't care how they feel anymore. Not that I'm trying to be mean or negative. I don't mean it from that standpoint. I mean, I just don't allow it to affect me anymore, where in the past it affected me greatly. One of the reasons in my business, One Voice, it has always been difficult for me to recruit people, is because I don't take rejection well. Somebody tell me no, I take it personally. That's not a good thing, but that's who I am. You tell me no. Well, in the past, I would take it personal. I'm like, what do you mean no? But now I don't let those things affect me anymore. It's like, okay, I move on. So I've grown, and that was a big step for me, just being able to not allow other people to affect me. And so a lot of people would think that the kind of personality I have, I wouldn't be affected by other people, but I truly was. I was affected by what people said or thought or reacted or didn't react in certain things, in particular business. But now I don't care anymore. I'm going through life doing what I know to do. And like my good friend Stanley Doucette says, I'm betting on myself. I'm betting on myself. And I'm going to win or lose by betting on myself, because I think, in fact, I know that I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do, and I'm going to give it my all. Right? That's the power of positive thinking. I'm betting on myself. When you start to replace negative or unhelpful thoughts with more positive and constructive thoughts, then that's going to allow you to let a lot of this other stuff go just instantaneously, almost instantaneously. Something else that helps me a lot, I've said this before, and I've said this in the past, but sometimes for me, this is just for me, when I accepted the worst situation, the worst outcome, it freed me of worrying and stress, because I accepted the worst outcome. This is an example that I use because this is the first time that I experienced this particular notion. This was many, many years ago. I may have been in college or whatever, but struggling financially, trying to make it happen. I think I had an apartment or something like that, and didn't have enough money for the electric bill. And I'm just stressing about where am I going to get the money? And every day, every time I hear a truck, I'm looking out the window to see if it's the Florida Power, if they're about to turn off my electricity, so I'm stressing out, hear a truck. And it's like, man, I'm just stressing. And then one day I just said, I got up, I'm like, you know what? If they turn the power off, they just turn the power off. I'll sit here in the dark. I'll do what I have to do, but they just turn it off. There's nothing I could do about it. When I get the money, I'll pay it. But if they turn it off, they turn it off. Man, let me tell you, as soon as I made that decision, it was like the entire weight of the world was lifted off my shoulders, because I didn't care anymore. I just stopped caring about them turning off the electricity. Just turn it off. They never did turn it off, by the way. I was worrying and stressing about nothing. And I eventually, of course, got the money and paid my electric bill, but they never turned it off anyway. And I was just stressing myself into illness just by worrying about and manifesting something that wasn't there. That's why I say a lot of times, once you accept the worst situation, for me, that was accepting the worst situation as far as the electricity was concerned. It didn't bother me anymore. So all of these things in terms of positive thinking, letting it go, making a conscious choice to free yourself from mental burdens of thoughts, mental burdens of emotions that are basically just not serving you well. It's a valuable skill to master, for you to be able to manage stress, for you to be able to improve yourself mentally, improve your mental health by letting things go and finding peace and contentment within yourself. Because at the end of the day, yeah, you are the master of your fate. You are the captain of your soul. You are the one that's making things happen in your life. So you don't have to worry about all these other things, right? So keep that in mind, guys, as you move forward. The moral of the story is let it go. All right. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So with that, I'm going to get out of here for this particular episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. Don't forget, guys, I need your help. I need you to go to the website, the deepdivepodcast.live. Like, subscribe, download, share, social media. Same thing, the Deep Dive Podcast with Sam Orum, YouTube, all of these things. I want to do some special things for season 4, which will probably kick off in January. We're in season 3 right now. Season 4 will probably kick off in January. We're going to be on hiatus soon. But I want to be able to do some very special things for you guys all over the globe that I think is really going to be powerful and impactful. What's going to help me in that process, help me to help you, is for me to be able to expand the numbers, the visibility, the might of what we do here at the Deep Dive Podcast even bigger as we move forward into season 4, the beginning of 2024. We had a podcast a few weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago, with the actor J. Marcus Johnson. He plays Rayshawn on All the Queen's Men. In that particular podcast, we had it was over 800,000 viewers or listeners on the radio station, over 800,000 people. Now, I had a goal of 1 million people tuning in, and we came short of that goal, but 800,000 is nothing to sneeze at. We want to build this platform to where we're consistently sharing this message to at least 1 million people every single episode. And I think by you guys sharing and liking and just helping get the message out, we'll build these numbers and followers. And because we got some serious stuff to talk about in season 4, we're going to reshape the format a little bit. I think you're going to absolutely love it. So I need your help in that process. So we got the last quarter of this year to make a big, big difference going into 2024. So thank you guys so much for your support. Thank you for your love. Thank you for tuning in to this particular episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. Again, like, subscribe, download, share. With that, God bless each and every one of you, and I'll see you on the beaches of the world. Take care.